almost everything we think we know about addiction is wrong. The idea of addiction we've all got in our heads, that story, comes partly from a series of experiments that were done earlier in the 20th century. You get a rat and you put it in a cage, and you give it 2 water bottles. One is just water, and the other is water laced with either heroin or cocaine. The rat will almost always prefer the drugged water and almost always kill itself quite quickly. In the 70s, Bruce Alexander, professor of psychology in Vancouver, comes along and he looks at this experiment and he noticed something. He said, we're putting the rat in an empty cage. It's got nothing to do except use these drugs. Let's try something a bit different. So Professor Alexander built a cage that he called Rat Park, which is basically heaven for rats, right? They've got loads of cheese, they've got loads of colored balls, they've got loads of tunnels. Crucially, they've got loads of friends, they can have loads of sex, and they've got both the water bottles, the normal water and the drugged water. But here's the fascinating thing. In Rat Park, they don't like the drugged water. They almost never use it. None of them ever use it compulsively. None of them ever overdose. You go from almost 100% overdose when they're isolated to 0% overdose when they have happy and connected lives. What if addiction isn't about your chemical hooks? What if addiction is about your cage? What if addiction is an adaptation to your environment? This has really significant implications. The most obvious implications are for the war on drugs, right? We punish addicts, we shame them, we give them criminal records, we put barriers between them reconnecting. Now, there's a place that decided to do the exact opposite, and I went there to see how it worked. In the year 2000, Portugal had one of the worst drug problems in Europe. So one day, the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition got together, set up a panel of scientists and doctors to figure out what would genuinely solve the problem. And they came back and they said, decriminalize all drugs, from cannabis to crack. But, and this is the crucial next step, take all the money we used to spend on cutting addicts off, on disconnecting them, and spend it instead on reconnecting them with the society. But the biggest thing they did was the complete opposite of what we do. A massive program of job creation for addicts and microloans for addicts to set up small businesses. And when I went and met the addicts in Portugal, it's fascinating. What they said is, as they rediscovered purpose, they rediscovered bonds and relationships with the wider society, and the results are in. Injecting drug use is down in Portugal, according to the British Journal of Criminology, by 50%. Overdose is massively down. HIV is massively down among addicts. Addiction in every study is significantly down. We talk all the time in addiction about individual recovery, and it's right to talk about that. But we need to talk much more about social recovery. We created a society where, for a lot of us, life looks a whole lot more like that isolated cage and a whole lot less like Rat Park. What I try to do now, and I can't tell you I do it consistently, and I can't tell you it's easy, is to say to the addicts in my life that I want to deepen the connection with them, to say to them, I love you, whether you're using or you're not, and if you need me, I'll come and sit with you, because I love you and I don't want you to be alone or to feel alone. And I think the core of that message, you're not alone, we love you, has to be at every level of how we respond to addicts, socially, politically, and individually. Because the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection.
Breaking toxic habits. The opposite of addiction is connection. I've got a special ending for this lecture tonight. Are you guys ready for a Dr. Jeff intervention? Your desire to change must be greater than your desire to stay the same. I'm going to repeat that. Your desire to change must be greater than your desire to stay the same. I could help you, but you've got to want to help yourself. Too many people have too many excuses of why they want to stay the same. Some people, they don't want to be fixed. Broken gets them attention, unfortunately. As we go through this lecture, you'll see there's a lot of self-deception and excuses with people. I'm dedicating tonight's lecture to my dad. He passed away going on a year ago, last year in December, I'm sorry. I'm going to explain a little bit more in depth with that further on in this lecture. If you guys watched my mold lecture, some of you guys kind of knew that. This is some of the last good pictures I had with my dad and my kids. Jackson's 2 years old, Ethan's 4 years old. The smiles on their face, the joy they bring me, it's hard to come home and have a bad day seeing those types of smiles. Following tonight's lecture, I'll be doing a Q&A for you guys that have come out. My January lecture, inflammation. This is going to be a complete great topic all on inflammation in different areas, brain inflammation, heart inflammation, gut inflammation, all the different health topics related to inflammation. If you cannot find us on social media, you are outdated. It's because of my Instagram following that I'm actually doing this topic tonight. I did an Instagram theme 1 week talking about toxic habits. Everyone enjoyed it to the point of me asking them, you guys want me to do a lecture on this? They said, absolutely. So here it is tonight. I've been a little bit quiet on my blog. I'll be blogging more tomorrow, and after this lecture is done, we got a newsletter that's up. Tony, who's in the back, our social media person, he is running our newsletter. So if you haven't seen that, sign up for it. We're doing updates to the website to where you can sign up for that as well. Sign up for the blog on that. This is our crew. We work hard for you guys. We work very hard for you guys. If you had a great experience with us, give us some feedback, leave us some reviews, whether it's Google, Facebook, Yelp, whatever. We like to hear from our patients, and we like patients to share their stories with everyone else. We like to help everyone we can, and we Skype with patients in, out of the state, and out of the country. Tonight's lecture is going to be just a tad little different. My mold lecture I did in May, I did many different cases, talking about different cases and scenarios of people being exposed to mold. This lecture tonight, I'm not talking about any pre and post case. This is going to be a completely straight at you lecture tonight. With that being said, in talking about toxic habits, where do you think I should begin? Where would I begin? Well, I gotta come for the pill junkies right off the bat. I'm going after any and everything pharmaceutical today. You know what the first thing Dr. Tent and I do walking into a new patient room? We look at the list of medications they're on. We have a new patient coordinator because we have to screen new patients and screen the medications they're on. We got to see what we're up against most of the time with these pharmaceuticals. It's unbelievable in the amount of young people that are on strong amounts and many prescriptions of pharmaceutical medications today. You come to my house, this is what a real medicine cabinet looks like. This is my medicine cabinet. My entire career at DHS, I haven't had any sick days. I don't take NSAIDs. This is my medicine cabinet. This is health care. It's not sick care. There's something that needs to be addressed right off the bat. This is a big topic, anxiety and depression. Raise your hand if you've dealt with anxiety and depression throughout your lifetime. It's a good bit of you guys. This is important because a lot of people's anxiety and depression leads to the beginning of toxic habits. Could be prescriptions, could be illegal drugs, marijuana, alcohol, food addiction, sugar addiction, you name it. These little things are the beginning of these toxic habits people begin. Now, when I'm treating patients with anxiety and depression, there's some key things that need to be addressed right off the bat with patients. Hypoglycemia. Look at these symptoms: apprehension, unrealistic fears, depression, worry, inability to concentrate, short attention span, dizziness, difficult speaking, crying, double vision. These symptoms is what happens when you bottom out with your blood sugar and you don't have enough protein and amino acids to balance your blood sugar. I grew up my first 13 years of life having panic attacks. because I was so hypoglycemic and everyone missed this on me. Most anxiety, a lot of depression, I could go after 80% of them with protein, B vitamins, and essential fatty acid because no one is controlling their blood sugar properly today. You guys are driving on a road here, people flipping you off, cutting you off. Maybe it's you guys doing it to them or vice versa. But I could pinpoint the hypoglycemics pretty easily. Two key things, and it doesn't matter if you're doing nutraceuticals or pharmaceuticals for anxiety and depression, if you're not eating and you're not sleeping, you will not respond to any treatment. Some of the craziest patients I've ever treated, if they're not sleeping, you'll be fit for a straitjacket very quickly. Well, maybe it's the standard American diet, too many carbohydrates, sugars, maybe you're a popaholic, teaholic, coffeeholic, alcoholic, you name it. These things will push your B vitamins out of your system and you will create America's top nutritional deficiency. These are your symptoms of B vitamin deficiencies. So many people are stuck in habits that are driving their B's out so quickly. We'll feel this on people's pulses skipping around, irregular, look at the tongues, heart reflexes, the muscle testing pinpoints this stuff pretty quickly, my functional testing, my organic acids test, a lot of different testing that I could pinpoint this stuff very quickly. Well, everyone loves their pills, they love their pharmaceuticals today. What are things that are creating depression on people today? Accutane, anticonvulsant medications, your benzo medications, beta blockers, statins, alcohol, barbiturates, opioids, and all that. These are things that are driving people into anxiety today, or depression, I should say. Let's look at some statistics and some things with just antidepressants. Antidepressant use has increased from 1999 to 2004. The usage increased from 7.7% in 99 to 2002, from 12.7% to in 2011 to 14. The increased percentage was about the same among males and females, but actually the females were approximately twice as likely as males to have taken antidepressant medication at all time points. This is what's interesting. Now I've got a theory about this. Women are more attentive about their health and go to doctors more than the guys do. When women are going to the doctors and they can't find what's wrong with them, most doctors will tell you it's in your head. Your lab work looks normal. It's in your head, and push everyone towards antidepressants. In functional medicine, we want to know, why are you getting depression? I've never seen a Zoloft deficiency before. I've never seen a Prozac deficiency before. I want to know why. Get to the root cause of why there's depression going on. And you can see the charts just over the years of the increase, how they both increase with the males and the females at the same time, but higher with the females. But your MD has told you it's in your head. They're trained to tell you it's in your head if they can't find what's going on. These are the real risk of antidepressant usage: insomnia, skin rashes, headaches, joint muscle pain, stomach aches, nausea, diarrhea, internal bleeding, sexual side effects, weight gain, areas where you're blocking your liver pathway. You hear me talk heavily, don't block that liver pathway, and it's going to create other health issues down the road. These are big side effects. This is from the Harvard Health Publishing here. Many people taking antidepressants discover they can't quit. Yes, these medications they're putting on everyone create dependency. It's a disaster trying to come off of some of these things. Patients who try stopping taking the antidepressant drugs often say that they cannot. In a survey of 250 long-term users of psychiatric drugs, most commonly antidepressants, about half who wound down on the prescriptions relate the withdrawal symptoms as severe. They create dependency. And then they try to tell you in your head that you've got a chemical deficiency and we need to see which chemical cocktail works best for you and start rearranging medications and stacking up medications. Let's throw some Abilify and a Prozac and mix things around and see where things go from there. at one of my slides, I'm going to have you guys take a picture from where I'm quoting this exactly from. I'm going to be blogging about this tomorrow as well, because there's some important things within this whole article. It's like 30 pages or something like that. Withdrawal effects are #1 antidepressant adverse reaction reported by the FDA. Along with your nausea, dizziness, drug ineffectiveness, anxiety, insomnia, depression, suicidal issues, withdrawal issues are harder. The longer you're on this stuff, the harder it is to come off of it. When you stop these things cold turkey and your serotonin completely bottoms out, people go nuts on this stuff. Let's talk about how effective they are in general. Studies through PubMed and elsewhere, studies involving adults taking certain types of antidepressants to lower the risk of relapses, but cannot completely prevent them. I'm looking at statistics of how effective some of these medications are in classes of them. You go down to the average 27 out of 100 people. These are not really impressive numbers to put everyone on these medications, and to push some of our young children in elementary age on these antidepressants is embarrassing doctoring that I'm seeing, and it's scary to have these children coming in on liquid Prozac, all these anti-anxiety medications at such young ages today. Now we're going into wintertime. We start bumping up the vitamin D with people. 5,000 to 6,000 IUs of vitamin D. Vitamin D is your precursor to serotonin in your brain. The people that deal with seasonal affective disorder issues, this is a lot of vitamin D issues. You can see some of the other symptoms related to a lack of vitamin D, but depression is a big symptom that people will deal with. People, when their blood pressure starts spiking more in the fall and the winter time, it's a vitamin D issue. Learn to play your vitamin D. This is your #1 preventive thing of the flu. Got everyone asking about, what are we going to do about this mosquito issue in Michigan? This E virus or whatever they're calling it. Wait a week and a half. It's going to be 50, 60 degrees. It will knock out all the mosquitoes. I think you'll be fine for a week and a half. This is some of the simple stuff I do to keep my brain happy. Dr. Tent and I do a lot of things to play our brains to keep our brains happy. If you deal with the public on a daily basis, you're going to do the same exact things. I keep my vitamin D up. High stress adrenals, my glandular adrenal, B vitamins, adaptogenic herbs. I love my rhodiola ginseng, and that's what I pound very hard when the time change happens and we get this darker days of winter. The darker days of winter drives me nuts. That's my little bit of a serotonin issue there. The other half of this lecture, as I dive into this, is going to be talking about neurotransmitters. So I got a lot of special stuff tonight. That's what my energy and my moods go hand in hand. If I could keep my energy up, my moods stay up. This is my simple protein shake, nitro greens. Open up my detox pathways, remove the estrogens from the environment that we're faced. Collagen powder, skin, hair, nails, joints, protein source. My joints are, my workouts and that kind of stuff, plyometric workouts. I want to be attentive and strong on my joints and adjusting patients. I got to take care of myself. My endorphins, raw chocolate releases the feel-good endorphins. Endorphins are neurotransmitters. I'll be talking about other types of neurotransmitters and endorphin-based foods, but that's my speed, that's my cocaine, that's my feel-good right off the bat in my shake. If I'm not intermittent fasting, I'm doing that shake right off the bat in the morning. Well, Dr. Jeff, maybe it's not antidepressants that's a problem. Maybe I'm hooked to benzos. Maybe it's Xanax. My doctor says I need a chill pill. I have anxiety. When I was polling people on my Instagram stuff, I was amazed to see how many people dealt more with anxiety over depression. I thought depression was going to be more the issue, but apparently it was more anxiety with a lot of patients. The overdose deaths tied to anti-anxiety medications like Xanax continue to rise. Your benzo medications like Valium and Xanax are creating more deaths over the decade. The drugs are also highly addictive and can be fatal, especially when combined with alcohol and opioids. These things shut down your respiratory system. People overdosing on this stuff is just Whitney Houston stuff, shut down your respiratory system and croak just like that. The latest sign of the drug's impact, the number of overdose deaths, including benzos, rose from 0.54 per 100,000 in 99 to 5.02 per 100,000 in 2017 among women aged 30 to 64. Researchers reported January 11th in the Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report. That's a spike of 830%, surpassed only by increases seen in overdose deaths, including synthetic opioids or heroin. Yes. Look at how much that is growing. My doctor says I just need a chill pill. It's in my head. It's just anxiety. Yes, it's all in your head. We're all wired differently. Some people are more sympathetic dominant in nature. Other patients are more parasympathetic dominant in nature. Those individuals that deal with anxiety tend to be more sympathetic dominant in nature. Wired, go, go, go. Someone's pointing a gun at me and stuck in go mode. From a nutritional standpoint, you will burn certain nutrients a lot quicker than most patients. Calcium, magnesium, and potassium are alkalizing minerals that put the chill in your body. We all got a lot of different combos that we use in office to kind of help work, put the chill on people because people are stuck in this go, go, go mode. And they have this stress going on, whether it's work, and they're just stuck in a sympathetic dominant train. It's a very key mineral deficiency that people don't understand, and they try to self-medicate with this. Lithium is the miracle mineral to the brain. The soil's depleted of minerals. Iodine, selenium, lithium. This stuff's not in the soil. If the minerals aren't in the soil, it's not in the food, it's not in us. These patients have busy brains. They can't shut their brain off, so they're using alcohol, benzo medications, they're smoking, they're using heroin. Some of my hardcore people that can't shut their brain down, they're using Ambien, Lunesta, their Seroquel, stuff to just medicate their brain to crap so they could sleep at night. ADD medications with their kids because they can't focus, their brain's so scattered in their busy brain, and they're hooked on these medications at such young ages from a simple lithium deficiency. How do you pinpoint that? A simple hair analysis. We run hair analysis with patients all the time at the office, $120. You can look how well you're digesting your minerals. You can look at heavy metal issues. If you want your brain health as you get older, run a hair analysis. It's simple stuff. This is stuff I addressed in Fixing America's Top Nutritional Deficiencies back a year or two ago. Another lecture I did that I'll kind of rehash a little bit was drug-induced nutritional deficiencies, because we got to know what we're up against. So many people are on medications today that are just driving into other problems and stuck on more and more meds that are just more and more problems. One of the slides that was from that lecture, medical errors are number 3 cause of U.S. deaths, researchers stated. Based on analysis of prior research, the Johns Hopkins study estimates that more than 250,000 Americans die each year from medical errors. The number 3 cause of death behind heart disease and cancer, medical errors. And I guarantee you, working in a hospital, working in a nursing home over here, I'm sure that statistic should be probably a lot higher. More recent article talked about 1 in 12 patients are harmed by medical mistakes. This was a new study, University of Manchester study found that about 6% of patients suffer preventable medical mistakes during the course of treatment. Medical mistakes are common and sometimes unavoidable, but about half of the errors could have been stopped. About 12% of these medication mix-ups, surgical mistakes were severe or deadly with the patients who were involved. You don't want to be stuck in the medical system. When I worked there for 4 years, I was like, my gosh, this is sick care. It's not health care. You want to be proactive with your health and not be reactive. I got to remind patients, and I love every time I talk about the pharmaceutical stuff because I got to remind it, every year this changes. Every few years this chart changes. This is your top 20 selling medications. This is where the real war on drugs is at. Look at this prices on this stuff. You want to be a slave to this stuff and be peddled medications? it's talk to our diabetic and heart patients and everything. Ask them what they're paying for insulin on a monthly basis and that. You realize what's going on with that, you will definitely be more proactive. Now, this was just July 2019. These are the top prescribed medications. Here's your top 7. What happened a few years ago? They lowered the ranges of LDL cholesterol, 130 to 0 to 100, so it looks like everyone's got more and more high cholesterol, so everyone's on Lipitor, more and more Lipitor today. Give everyone Lipitor. Your doctors think Lipitor is a preventive medicine. Preventive care is just giving you a low-grade statin, and you should be on this stuff. You guys want to know why, you're losing your brains as you get older? Statin medications is one of them. I'll get down to the number 7 here because pain management in this country sucks, and the medical profession is highly liable for this opioid epidemic that we have in our country as well. These are some of the medications that are stealing your brain. Statin medications, Parkinson's drugs, tranquilizers, beta blockers, antihistamines, steroids, epilepsy medications, antacids, antidepressants, anticonvulsants. If you're on this kind of stuff, look out down the road. But Dr. Jeff, my brain doesn't work. My doctor says I have ADD, I have ADHD. Oh, maybe it's an Adderall deficiency. Maybe it's a Ritalin deficiency. Among children diagnosed with the ADHD, 62 were taking ADHD medications. Go down below. The ones taking the medications, they were 2 to 17 years of age, receive behavioral treatment. Just about half of your children on these ADHD medications also were being treated for behavioral problems. Well, let's dive into that a little bit more. What types of issues? These are stimulant medications you're giving to your children. Behavioral issues, anxiety, depression, autism spectrum disorder, Tourette stuff. I'm more concerned about these top 3. I see children, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. Had a 2nd grade teacher last year. She's like, this is my last year. I've been teaching 30 years. She's like, anxiety is the buzzword. Everyone in school has anxiety. She's like, I got 5 kids on stimulant medications for their ADD, ADHD, that have anxiety, that had to do another med for their anxiety. 2nd grade. Unbelievable. Adderall is just like doing meth on your brain. What everyone thought marijuana was is a gateway drug. No. Your medications and your Adderall crap that these kids are being fed today is today's gateway drug. You look at brain scans and it presses, Adderall and Ritalin press the same receptors and release dopamine in the brain. This is cocaine on your kids' brains. When I was in junior high, they were crushing Ritalin and snorting it. When I was down in Life University to get my chiropractic degree, people who didn't need Ritalin or Adderall were just getting prescriptions of it so they could just get an edge on someone else, crash study harder, and cheat just to get medications and help them. Those same people that try to cut corners are the same ones who are in their career today still cutting corners and still cheating and still looking for the shortcuts. The girls like it because it curbs their appetite. They could think and it keeps them skinny. This is what today is all about. You don't think this is true. I treat every age range from your junior high, elementary, to your adults taking this crap, because adults, this is like what speed was back in the day, is what Adderall is today of our age. Most people think in order to reach their true potential in life, they need to be born with money, luck, or intelligence. You won't get there with luck, not with money or intelligence. It's with effort, your sacrifice, your belief, and dedication. I've got purpose and I've got passion, and you could feel that when I'm lecturing to you guys with this. Don't be scared of failure. You need to tell your children not to be scared of failure. Michael Jordan once said, I failed over and over again, and that's why I succeeded. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. We have a generation coming up behind us that we're just giving participation trophies to. No kid left behind. Stick them full of medication so they could think, get them through school, and they're going to be running the country one day or something. This is what's coming up behind us. I've failed more than I've succeeded, and if it wasn't because of my failure, that is what drove me to never give up. I didn't take the shortcuts. I didn't cheat. I worked hard. Dramatic increase in ADHD prescriptions filled by reproductive aged women. This is the CDC. The number of privately insured U.S. women ages 15 to 44 years who filled prescriptions for medicine related to ADHD disorder increased 344% between 2003 and 2015. Yes. Doctor, I'm tired. Was it your thyroid? No, your thyroid's normal. Is it gut problems? Is it something else? Maybe we should look at adrenal health? No, it's not that. Everything looks normal. I don't know what to tell you, but I'll give you a low grade of Adderall so it gives you some energy and you can think throughout the day. And this is where they're going today. I've got people that thought they needed this crap just for school, and they get through school and they're done with college, and they're like, my gosh, I can't function unless I have my Adderall now. Wake up 6:30 in the morning, I pop one Adderall, half hour later I gotta pop a third one or second one, and that's how I start my day every single day. Because I'm stuck and addicted to this crap because my mom shoved this down my throat to get me through school. And that is what I deal with. Isn't it just common sense to want to ask, why is your brain broken? Why is your brain not working right? Statin medications, fluoride, heavy metals, benzo medications, antidepressants, medications that shut off the acetylcholine neurotransmitter in your brain, Parkinson's medications, beta blockers, steroids, antacids. These are just some of the medications robbing people's brains today. No, just keep going along. We don't need people to think today. Just keep going with the system. Harvard researchers say certain ADHD medications may increase the risk of psychosis. Duh. You want to know why these kids are psychotic today? All your stimulant medications increases the cortisol in their system. It curbs their appetite. They're not eating. They're more hypoglycemic. They're not sleeping at night because of this crap, and your kids are going psycho. It's the medications. Now, school started, second, third week, all the kids start cycling all the sickness and start spreading it to everyone else. I swear, there are a lot of schools soaked with mold. When I talked about this lecture last May, there's certain psychiatric conditions that may be exacerbated with mold, anxiety, depression type symptoms. Had a case that was just in yesterday. Man, we worked so hard with this girl in her mid-20s. She just has this oddball vertigo symptom. Stopped driving because her vertigo is that bad. Major anxiety because of it. We worked with her adrenals, adjusting her atlas. She's been to neurologists back and forth. I even checked Lyme disease stuff with her. I go, my gosh, I think I finally know what it was when I was studying the mold stuff. I'm like, I'm going to pay to have a mold panel with you because I'm going to nail this. Her mold panel came back high. We had her house checked out. The basement was absolutely soaked with mold. Everyone in that house was having different health issues, but she was the one that dealt with anxiety and vertigo issues. It was very intriguing. All your people right now with allergy season taking antihistamines, these are certain class of medications that's going to block the neurotransmitter acetylcholine in your brain and push you towards dementia if you live on this stuff year-round, if you have year-round allergies. That stuff also blocks your liver pathway as well. These class of medications will shut your brain down. Here's more of them. Antispasmodics, antidepressants, anti-Parkinson's medications, antipsychotic medications, antihistamines, and all the ones block the acetylcholine neurotransmitter. Chiropractic care tied to significant reduction in opioid prescriptions. A new meta-analysis and systematic review patients who visited a chiropractor for musculoskeletal pain conditions were 49% less likely to receive an opioid prescription than their counterparts who went to other healthcare professionals. You know, I gotta say something about the whole chiropractic stuff. So many other professions bash chiropractic, the medical practice bashes us like crazy, yet physical therapists are adjusting patients, medical mainly your DOs are adjusting patients, yet somehow we get bashed with it. But how well have they done, how well has the medical profession done with pain management? When I got in a car wreck and I was working at the hospital, I knew it's gonna be painkillers, muscle relaxers, steroids, injections. Common sense only told me then that only covers up the symptoms. I wanna kind of go after the problem, not really hop on medications with this. That's what got me into chiropractic with a neck problem from a car accident. Drug overdose deaths continue to rise due to the increased use of these opioids. From 1999 to 2017, more than 700,000 people have died from a drug overdose. Around 68% of the more than 70,000 drug overdose deaths in 2017 involved an opioid. On average, daily, 130 Americans die from an opioid. This is a serious problem. So when they say, oh, you got back pain, neck pain, no, don't go to a chiropractor. Oh yeah, hop on opioids. You should see the kid I just had in yesterday, narco and a whole slew of medications, mid-20s, and he was a pharmacy bag. Here's your statistics and just the waves of deaths with the opioids. 2010, 2017, just climbing through the roof. And yes, this stuff has fueled our heroin epidemic in our country because heroin is cheaper. Purdue Pharma reaches tentative deal in federal and state opioid lawsuits. The deal was said to be worth $10 billion to $12 billion, including guaranteed $3 billion payment from Sacklers over 7 years. I put that slide in there last week. The day after that, they announced that Purdue Pharma went bankrupt. Good luck fighting for your money in bankruptcy court. We'll see who gets paid and who doesn't get paid with this. And yes, the opioid issue has fueled the heroin problem in our country. I treat about 5 cases a year in the office, and it's unbelievable just how from people dealing with something as simple as back pain, getting hooked on painkillers, and just going down the line to heroin. But psychiatric drugs cause more deaths than heroin. You look at your sedatives, antidepressants, psychostimulants, antipsychotics, statistically are more than heroin today. Do you want to be a slave to our pharmaceutical country? CBD oil, which we carry at our office, has worked great for patients. We're actually looking to get some higher strength ones, so I don't even know how long that we'll be carrying these ones that we have. What are some of the top things that we're going to treat with CBD oil? Anxiety. Anxiety is number 1. Pain management. Seizures. Certain cancers respond very well with simple CBD oil. Dr. Jeff, what if I just want to smoke weed? Everyone's doing it. What's Dr. Jeff, how do you feel about medical marijuana, just marijuana in general? For medical use, yes. Recreational use, no. It's still a drug. It alters your thinking, alters your mind. What's the first excuse or self-deceptive thing someone does when they want to promote marijuana? They compare it to alcohol. Well, it's better than alcohol, blah, blah, blah. Statistically, this and that. It's all delusional self-deception. I'm for it for certain things. It works great. Recreational use, not so much. You can see the short-term problems. You can see the long-term problems with this. Why do we fall into addictions? What's going on in our brains? Neurotransmitters. We all have these neurotransmitters in our brain. This is going to be the second half of this lecture. The Braverman assessment. You could take this survey online for free. If you want to know how I scored, I'm dopamine dominant and I'm GABA deficient. If you see me driving on the road, you can tell I'm dopamine dominant for sure. What is a neurotransmitter? A neurotransmitter is defined as a chemical messenger that carries, boosts, and balances signals between neurons or nerve cells and other cells in the body. These chemical messengers can affect a wide variety of both physical and psychological functions, including heart rate, sleep, appetite, mood, and fear. Billions of neurotransmitters molecules work constantly to keep our brains functioning, managing everything from our breathing to heartbeat and learning and concentration levels. So here's a neuron and a neuron. You blow that little picture up and you got these little chemical neurotransmitters. This is what we're going to kind of focus on a little bit. These are different types of neurotransmitters in your brain. You got adrenaline, noradrenaline, dopamine, serotonin, GABA, acetylcholine, glutamate, and endorphins. Other ones that have neurotransmitter effects in the brain are melatonin, oxytocin, and vasopressin. I'm not really going to focus on those or the glutamate on this. A lot of your neurotransmitters need a very specific nutrient. You need a specific nutrient in your brain if you want to produce your neurotransmitters efficiently. Folate and B6 are essential, and especially the B6. These are all your neurotransmitters. Kind of hard to see on that one slide. These are your neurotransmitters that need B6. From a functional medicine standpoint, how are you going to pinpoint someone who's got a B6 deficiency? On most of your general blood work that they should be running, MCV and MCH, if those run low, that indicates a B6 deficiency on patients. If you're low on B6, your precursor to a lot of your neurotransmitters may be off. Let's dive into serotonin. And you don't have to raise your hands, but these are symptoms of patients dealing with low serotonin. Frequent worry, anxiety, seasonal affective disorder. The dark days drive me nuts. I kind of fall a little bit in there. Light sleeper that frequently wakes up, frequent moodiness, strongly self-critical or frequent feeling of guilt, craving of sweets, my hardcore sugarholics. Serotonin, carbohydrates, and sugar. You can't break that carbohydrate and that sugar addiction, you've got serotonin issues. Here's your symptoms of low serotonin versus high serotonin. And we deal more at the low end of this with patients. Fatigue, disturbed sleep, changes in appetite, hot flashes, insomnia, migraine headaches, weight gain, depression. Those are the ones that we'll see more of. I had a patient that had 2 months ago that had serotonin sickness because she was already on an antidepressant, got thrown in a psych ward, and they just amped up more antidepressant, and it was Abilify. She had so much serotonin, she was shaking and tremoring for 2 days. That's how they treat them. I tell you what, some of the craziest person I've ever treated in the office was on Risperdal, lithium, and Seroquel all together. My gosh, I'll never forget the day because we were telling his mom, who was a long patient in our office, I don't think we could treat your son, 28 years old, who's stripping his clothing off, running around the office. I go, he may be fit better somewhere else. She said, I've been everywhere. You know what they do at the psych ward that we bring him to? They just drug him till he doesn't know where he's at. He's drooling from his mouth, and he's lost in space. She's like, I'm desperate for your help. We did a complete 180 with him, and that was back in 2009, and it was a pretty cool case, very memorable, because man, I was worried his medications was making him suicidal. Now look at the pathway of serotonin. You can see you need your B6 precursor, 5-HTP, tryptophan. These are things that later convert. Most people have sleep issues if they got serotonin problems because that later converts the melatonin down the line. Now, you eat a big turkey dinner with Thanksgiving, you get that big tryptophan release. That's the tryptophan that makes everyone feel happy and sleepy at the same time because you get all that serotonin at the end with that. 90% of your serotonin is produced in your gut, not your brain. If you have sick guts, you're going to have serotonin problems, period. You need your gut analyzed if you got food sensitivities and an inflamed gut and all these gut issues going on because you will have serotonin problems. It doesn't matter what product you're taking to boost serotonin. If you got gut issues that are the underlying cause, you're not going to get to the bottom of it. Let's talk about our little social media addiction that we've got today. Quit comparing your lives to someone else. You care too much about what other people think of you. This is, I swear, is the reason of most of your teenager depressions, is social media crap. On top of that, everyone's got this phone addiction that's created all this ADD crap. Everyone gets nervous, loses lack of time, grab my phone, don't know what to do. Everyone's stuck on this crap, comparing their lives. Is creating all this obscure depression because everyone puts their happy crap on social media, doesn't put their real life on there, and everyone's depressed for no stupid reason other than social media crap today. The attention span of people have gone down the crapper. I've talked to Dr. Tent. I'm like, my gosh, we need to shorten our lectures more and more because the attention span is just absolute crap, and it's all because of social media crap today. This was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, my son's got a swim class. Every single parent down the line, I look over, I'm like, holy crap, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Every single parent's on their phone. Every single parent's on their phone. It made me have to get my phone out just to get a picture of them. I'm watching my son doing swim stuff, and he's so happy and excited, and he's looking at me to get a reaction, and I'm like, yeah. But then I'm looking at them, I'm like, my gosh, you kidding me? Go out in the public. I can't believe this. This is what it's turned into. I'm going to be blunt with you guys, with your kids. Dr. Jeff, how much screen time is too much time? I don't have a specific number with this. I could tell you, though, the children I treat in the office, some of the worst behavioral issue ones, are on the screen time 24/7. My worst ones are the hardcore YouTube kids, and worse than them are the video gamers. And if you don't believe me, talk to your social workers. They will confirm this. 31 prescription drugs linked to violence. 79 of them were psychiatric drugs. This is page 12. Next slide, I'm going to have you guys take a picture of. This is what I'll be blogging about tomorrow. Here's your antidepressants, here's your stimulants, here's your benzos. All this crap's making people psychotic. I want you guys to take a picture of this slide. I'll be blogging about this tomorrow, and that's the link I want you to go to. I'll let you guys decide. We'll let you guys decide. We'll see if guns are the real problem or mental disease and prescription medications is the real problem. I'll let you guys decide on this one. Here's just a little list of some of your shooters and the medications. This is the stuff they're all quiet about. Every time there's some mass shooting or some type of shooting, what medications are they on? I want to know what's altering their brain function. Mental disease in our country is a disaster. Oh, it's in your head. You got a chemical deficiency. We need to see which chemical cocktail works best for you. This is all in the pages of that last one you took a picture of, so enjoy. The gut-brain axis. The germ in your gut can alter your moods. People roasting their guts year after year with antibiotics, NSAIDs, wiping out their germ with chlorine-based products or, chlorine in the water. It will alter your moods. PubMed's got plenty of stuff that talks about this, about the gut-brain interaction. I did a lecture, Health Begins in the Gut. I suggest you check it out. If you block your liver pathway, or if you've got gut issues that aren't properly addressed, you will plateau with your health issues until those are properly addressed. Now, getting back to some of the depression stuff with patients, the adrenal thyroid connection, when I did that lecture, I talked about how if you have hypothyroid symptoms or hypoadrenal symptoms, they will mirror image each other, but a lot of patients had this low-level issue of depression from their thyroid or their adrenals not being properly addressed. These are symptoms of someone dealing with hypothyroid issues. The weight gain, decrease in appetite, fatigue easily, ringing in the ears, sleepy during the days, cold, constipation, dry, scaly skin, weight gain, the hair loss, mentally sluggishness. Those are your common symptoms with thyroid issues, but depression, little low-grade depression is pretty common with that as well. We're all burnt and spent today. All the cortisol's cooked your adrenals. A lot of people have underactive adrenals, and a lot of your underactive adrenals will mirror image hypothyroid symptoms, but also people deal with this little low-level degree of depression because they roast their B vitamins. I told you your B vitamins are your number one deficiency. You roast your B vitamins. Once your Bs are gone, your adrenals pay the price. Deion Sanders once said, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. If you play good, they pay good. What he should have said is, if you eat good, you feel good. If you eat good, you feel good. So many people today feel like crap and their moods are in the crapper because they eat like crap. If you eat sugars and carbohydrates all day long, you're gonna feel like crap. I promote and like paleo and ketogenic diet. I put patients on all different diets. I don't feel that there's one diet that's specific for everyone, but paleo and keto work best for me. And when the time changes and it's darker days and the darker afternoons, it drives me nuts. That's when I get very aggressive with the paleo keto diet, because if I eat sugars and carbohydrates, I crash in the afternoon. If you want sustained energy as the day goes on, you get rid of the sugars and the carbs, you eat good, you feel good, your energy will be sustained. It is almost just that simple. My brother, who's in his 20s, still hasn't learned that yet. Just wants to eat like he was fed when he was 5 years old. Twinkies, waffles, donuts, Tim Hortons, and complaining he's tired. I'm like, my gosh. It's unbelievable. Trying to get through to his head. I'm like, your moods, your blood sugar, your B vitamins, it's simple stuff. My gosh, I could get through high school on a half a brain when I was younger. Got to college, I'm like, holy crap, my brain hurts. I have to think, I have to focus. Something's wrong with my brain. It's broken. What's wrong? No, it's my blood sugar, protein, and B vitamins. Lift it, whoosh, done. Simple stuff. People dealing with real anxiety sometimes have GABA issues and lack of GABA in their brain to calm their brain down. If you have low GABA, anxiety, stress, insomnia, tension headaches, depression, PTSD stuff, seizures, these are symptoms of low GABA. That's also a neurotransmitter in your brain that needs B6. If you're lacking B6, you won't produce this stuff. So, yes, we talked about anxiety and issues that aren't being properly addressed with that. Is it a lithium deficiency? Is it a GABA issue? I'm going to talk about different ways and things that we could do to kind of test those things. Kind of getting back to this whole sympathetic dominant, parasympathetic dominant issue. If someone points a gun at you, you go in this fight or flight mode. You release another neurotransmitter called epinephrine. This is adrenaline. These are your people who are adrenaline junkies. Commonly known as adrenaline, and both hormone and neurotransmitter, epinephrine is released by your adrenal glands along with norepinephrine in response to the fight or flight response. Epinephrine affects cardiovascular function and glucose metabolism in your body. Imbalances of this can cause issues with aggression, anger, adrenaline, or adrenal fatigue, weight gain, and stress. My adrenaline junkies, my patients with caffeine addiction, they have this low epinephrine, low adrenaline issue, and they're taking these stimulants all day long. They're tired unless they're taking their Adderall, their Ritalin, their stimulants, their caffeine, their Red Bulls, their Rockstars, whatever, you name it, they're stuck on this stuff because they have low epinephrine issues, low adrenaline, weight gain, attention. This is your attention issue. This is why your Ritalin and Adderall work for people, because it's boosting adrenaline in their system. This is what they're deficient on. Yet, we've got Adderall junkies and we got the caffeine-aholics with the kids. Caffeine is a stimulant. It raises your dopamine and it raises your adrenaline. It increases your alertness, reduces fine motor coordination, can create insomnia problems, and higher doses, headaches, anxiety, and dizziness. When I was in college, I played with the ephedra stuff before they took that off the market. My gosh, I remember screwing around with that. You can buy it at the gas station. I remember, I got to study, do some midnight work, the midnight hours and whatnot. I was so wound up like I just did a shot of cocaine. I couldn't sit down to look at myself. I was lapping around the hospital like crazy. This stuff was unbelievable. Yes, and I see how people get addicted to this stuff, but my gosh, you crash so hard on this stuff. We'll talk about why people can't break this habit with certain addictions. But you look at these stimulants that people are on. They're on all these stimulants. It shoots your adrenaline up. Every time you're doing these stimulants, it shoots your adrenaline up, and then your cortisol follows that. You burn out. The people that can't break this addiction with stimulants, you burn out your adrenals, and then you run in this whole hypoadrenal thing because your adrenals are crashing. You deal with depression issues and anxiety issues because you got adrenal dysfunction issues with this. Norepinephrine, this is the same thing that's released with the fight or flight response. If you got problems with high epinephrine or low epinephrine, it's the same thing. Depression, ADHD, fatigue, lack of alertness, memory issues. And get back to the cortisol stuff. You are under stress. Cortisol is released. People get these sugar and carbohydrate cravings because of stress. They stress eat. It's anxiety. Their anxiety and stuff. You get stressed out. I'm going to go home. I'm going to curb out and crash, eat sugars. It's low serotonin, and it's cortisol issues that people can't break this crappy habit with their food addiction, sugar addiction, or whatever. And it's food and sugar that's the problem in our country today. You eat this stuff, it increases serotonin, it increases your endorphins, your blood sugar spikes, insulin brings you down, you're fatigued, you got mental fog, you want more sugar, you go back and forth, and no one can control their blood sugar because they're hooked on this crap. This is why Dr. Tent and I tell you guys, you need more protein in your diet to balance your blood sugar. You balance your blood sugar, you'll balance your moods. It's that simple. Balance the blood sugar, balance the moods. I had panic attacks and crap my first half of my life because I didn't understand this, and it was that simple. My gosh, if I grew up the age that we are now, I could only imagine the amount of medications and things that they would want to try to shove down my throat. Endorphins. These are your feel-good neurotransmitters. Foods like chocolate, strawberries, animal protein, oranges, spicy food, grapes, nuts, seeds, ginseng, cheese are endorphin-type foods. Your women who love chocolate, they are chocoholics. They have an endorphin deficiency. Why do you think women crave chocolate around their periods? You get painful periods, you want chocolate because it releases endorphins and it kind of eases the pain. Some people, cheese as well is an endorphin-based food, absolutely. So yes, some people have emotional pain that they're stuck with eating certain things and eating chocolate all day long because they are trying to release endorphins to numb the pain of life. let's talk about hormones that make you happy. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. Let's go to dopamine. B vitamins feeds the frontal cortex of your brain. Reward and pleasure. Reward and pleasure is your dopamine areas in your brain. Patients that have low dopamine, ADHD, depression, spectrum disorders, high dopamine, this is aggression, paranoia, nausea, vomiting. Conditions with low clinical low dopamine, that's what you see in Parkinson's patients. Guess what vitamin you need to help produce dopamine? B6, that is one of them. And on top of that, tyrosine is a precursor to dopamine. We have great products to help push dopamine pathways in people's brains at the office. That it's fun when you control, when you let your major things under control and you want to play with your neurotransmitters and play with your moods, it's fun. Dr. Tent and I love playing the brain stuff. It's fun, and me and him do it on a regular basis just on ourselves. We deal with the public. We need to keep our brain happy. Dopamine, let's talk about addiction. Dopamine has been found to have relatively little to do with pleasures of eating. That's all serotonin. Drugs like cocaine, opium, heroin, and alcohol increases the level of dopamine, as does nicotine. A lot of your major addictions that people cannot break, it's a dopamine issue in the brain. Exercise, eating, kissing, sex, winning, gambling, whatever, you name your addiction, you're trying to go after dopamine. See the release of dopamine over time with cocaine. This is the stuff people have a hard time breaking habits with because things that we're hooked to, we're playing this dopamine receptor. My hardcore sugarholics, I was going to get PET scans of people on all these different drugs, but what's interesting is most of these drugs that people are hooked to plays that dopamine receptor. Cocaine, sugar, dopamine is going to be lighting up those same areas on those PET scans. The standard American diet, I only eat when I'm happy, or when I eat, I'm only happy. Nothing says F my health more than smoking. I don't even want to talk about smoking or this vaping crap because nicotine is one of the things that raises dopamine. This is common sense. Cancer, anxiety, depression issues, headaches, fatigue, vascular issues with smoking. This is common sense. I really don't even want to have to waste my time with this. And people that think that vaping is healthier than smoking, that's all just self-deception as well. Let's talk about toxic behavior addictions. Codependency, food, eating, gambling, sex, porn, love, work, shopping, debt, internet gaming, whatever. Name whatever it is. This is stuff all to push dopamine in your reward centers in your brain. You engage in actions to increase dopamine. You feel high or pleasure, and when the dopamine wears off, you feel withdrawal, flat, and depressed. You re-engage in these activities to press that same receptor, and you don't feel that same amount of reward, so people have to increase whatever the drug of choice is, whether it's alcohol, cocaine, you name it, whatever your addiction is, you're trying to go after it stronger. How do you break the cycle? First, you got to quit deceiving yourself and stop making excuses. You got to tell yourself, I will not be a slave to self-sabotage anymore. Some of the solutions are at the end of this lecture. Dopamine and serotonin have some similarities with them and kind of can increase the cravings and also be correlated with the depression with patients. But when you look at serotonin more specifically, it's an inhibitory neurotransmitter that has been found to intimately be involved with emotion and food. Too little serotonin has been shown to lead to depression, problems with anger control, obsessive compulsive disorder, and suicide. Too little can also lead to an increased appetite for carbohydrates, trouble sleeping, and which are commonly associated with depression and other emotional disorders. Serotonin plays a role in perception. I'm going to get very real with you guys. I showed you guys on the third slide the last good pictures with my children that I had with my dad. This is the actual last few pictures I have with my dad. The Saturday before Thanksgiving last year, my dad slipped and fell from a ladder putting up Christmas lights. He had a significant brain injury that resulted in a severe brain bleed. He needed emergency brain surgery to alleviate the pressure in his brain. He was in a coma from the fall. He was in a coma after the surgery. It came down to us making a quality of life decision for my dad. And he passed away early last December. That's what I mentioned in my mold lecture. The part I left out was my dad was double the legal limit with alcohol when he fell from that ladder. My dad dealt with alcohol issues over the years. He was a functional alcoholic. In the last few years, it just spiraled out of control. I couldn't get through to my dad. I wish I could have. Alcohol didn't kill my dad directly, but killed him indirectly. His mom, my grandma, had alcohol issues. My dad worked for the big three. I'm sure he's somewhat of the reason for some recalls on our vehicles. My sister dealt with issues and got cleaned up with AA. When I first worked at the hospital, one of my first things ever seeing with someone coming in with an overdose, saw a patient strapped to his cart, puking, crapping himself, shaking, foaming from his mouth. Cop was babysitting him, and I was like, what's this guy, what hardcore drugs this guy coming off of? Cop's like, that's alcohol. I was like, wow. 19 years old, seeing that firsthand. This is my dad's brain scan. The impact on the left side of his brain, all this white here is blood. This is the center of the brain. This is one of the ventricles. This ventricle should be in the middle of all this. That got pushed all the way to the left because of his brain swelling. I had to watch my dad go through detox seizures. When the neurologist showed me his brain scan, he said all the swellings go to the left. You can see the blood here. See these little black areas? That's atrophying of your dad's brain from the use of alcohol over the years. If I had the slightest chance to prove all those doctors wrong and bring my dad back and fight through what he would have gone through. He had no movement on one side of on his right side of his body. We don't know what we would have gotten back with him. I would have gone full steam to prove them all wrong. My dad hated the medical stuff. He avoided doctors like the plague. But I liked what I did and took vitamins and supplements. He had crappy lipid numbers, and that's where I get my genetic crappy numbers from. I had so much stuff worked and managed with him. It was unbelievable. He just had this stupid fall. You can numb yourself to life's pains, whether it's alcohol, drugs, whatever. But when you sober up, your problems are going to still be there. Here's some of the effects Another brain scan showing some alcohol. Low doses, medium doses, high doses. These are what you'll see. People doing nightcaps, your wine in the evening. There's always, it's a socially acceptable. Alcohol calms people down to sleep, but it doesn't let you get a deep enough sleep. It doesn't let you hit that REM cycle, so you'll never fully feel rested for those people that love their alcohol in the evening. Don't let this be your medicine cabinet. I want to say more, and I just can't right now. Acetylcholine. I just need to reiterate acetylcholine deficiencies. This is what's going to steal your brain as you get older, and I cannot iterate enough with the medications. If you have poor memory, not enough acetylcholine, if you've got sufficient amount, you're good. Can't stress this enough. If you're on these medications long term, you're going to affect your brain. Alzheimer's is shrinking of the brain. I'll talk more about this and some of the inflammation stuff of this lecture coming up in January. Talking about some testing. Life Extensions has a pretty cool neurotransmitter test you could do. Dunwoody Labs, I got these kits at the office if you're interested. If you ran an organic acids test with me, you could evaluate your neurotransmitters based on that as well. Take a picture of this slide. Here's your recap of your neurotransmitters. What causes you to have too much or too little of a neurotransmitter in your body? Genetics, poor nutrition, stress, drugs, disease, lack of exercise, lack of sleep, alcohol, smoking, you name it. Food is the most abused anxiety drug. Exercise is the most underutilized antidepressant. I exercise more for my brain than I do for my body. It keeps me sane exercising. Exercise has done better than any antidepressant on the market. Get out, move, and do something and find out what you like. Well, where do you start? You need a strong daily protocol. I've got a good, strong daily protocol that's custom to my brain and my health to keep me sane. The Braverman Assessment Report, simple online. It's a free thing. Do that, bring that in the office, we'll go over it. If you want to do advanced testing, the neurotransmitter tests or urine-based tests, contact me, I'll let you know how that goes. Some people need to look in the mirror and quit making excuses. You've created toxic habits and built a social life around it. If you put toxins in your body, you think toxic, you do toxic, and you repeat this crap. You got to break the cycle. You got to eat clean. You got to supplement harder. You got to create new habits. Balance your adrenals. Find new relaxation techniques. You got to want to change. You've got to want to change. EMDR treatment. I got a gentleman in this crowd that you guys have picked up some of his cards when you first came in here. I have heard great reports with people doing this treatment for PTSD stuff. He could explain some of this stuff to you as well. I've been excited to finally find someone locally that I trust, that I like, that does this treatment. If you want to know more about it, his information is right here. His cards were out in front. Brian, raise your hand. Everyone tackle him at the end of the lecture. God is bigger than your problems. God will always be bigger than your problems. I invite you to this church I go to in Novi called Oak Point. Plug in somewhere. I got a men's group in South Line at the Java House. I meet there 6:30 to 7:30 on my Fridays. They got great counselors at this church, and it's a great church. Live your purpose. This book changed my life. I've dealt with panic attacks, anxiety, and depression throughout my life like many people. As I said before, anxiety and depression can lead to creating toxic habits in life and addictions. We feel powerless in a broken world and wide open to attack, so we put on false armor and we hide in addictions. The sad reality is that we're an addicted generation. We may not think of ourselves as addicted, but the truth of the matter is most of us have something in our lives that we feel like we can't live without, whether it's alcohol, relationships, shopping, accomplishments, drugs, adrenaline, even social media. We're enslaved to that thing that we can't break a habit of going to when we feel vulnerability surface in our life. The giant of addiction can rob you of God's best for you. It can lead you down a never-ending path to a never-fulfilled promise. We endure a lot of hurt in this life. Your pain often reveals God's purpose for you. God never wastes a hurt. God never wastes a hurt. If you've gone through a hurt, He wants you to help others going through a similar hurt. He wants you to share it. Who better to help somebody go through a bankruptcy than someone who went through a bankruptcy? Who better to help somebody struggle with an addiction than somebody who's struggled with an addiction? Who better to help a parent of a special needs child than parents who raised a special needs child? Who better to help somebody who's lost a child than somebody who's lost their child? God's got a purpose for you in this life. Have you found it yet? Many people struggle daily with their anxiety and their depression and have lack of fulfillment in this life because they haven't found their purpose. Yes, Dr. Jeff is preaching to you guys. I'm going to leave you guys with two verses. Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, and I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. John 16:33. I have told you these things so that you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. You may have been hurt and turned your back on God, but His love is everlasting and He'll never give up on you. For those of you struggling with anxiety and depression, once you find your purpose, those little things go to the side. I got so much purpose and passion with what I do. There's things I just don't worry about anymore. Worry about nothing, pray about everything. Philippians 4:6-7. That is the end of this lecture. You can find us all on the social media stuff, supplements we use, shipping stuff, previous lectures, contact information. Thank you guys for coming out tonight.